Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, co-author of Conversations with Top Real Estate Investors Volume 3, Munira Zahabi.
Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira, your host for Munira's Musings. Welcome to another edition. Our guest today is from Canada, Priscilla. Welcome to our show.
I'm going to be talking about the My Map to Happiness method. So I'm going to be talking about how you can get clear about your dream career and gain the confidence to make it a reality.
I'm the niche navigator, and I help people find their niches. These are people who are coaches, who are businesspreneurs, people who want to be a businesspreneur, people who have been laid off, or people are just looking for the next step in their life. So all of these people need to go into some kind of a business or a job, but more so business, and they're looking for a niche. So one of the things that I do is I help them find their skill set and then match them up to a perfect niche, which they have inside of them, only we have to figure out and bring it out of them. If you want to be a guest on my show, go ahead and look me up and send me a message. I'll send you my calendar and you can be on my show. Priscilla and I found each other that way. So let's talk about you.
Yeah.
Priscilla, tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm currently living in the capital region of Canada. And I say currently living because I have quite the nomadic soul. So I'm always looking for my next adventure. So I might not be staying here for a long time, which is why I work online. And I'm also the proud aunt of my niece, Layla. She's 3 years old, and she's basically the love of my life right now. And in addition to the coaching that I do, I'm also a yoga teacher. So also teaching people how to connect to their bodies, listen to their bodies, and incorporate yoga in their day-to-day life.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, so I am curious about the Happiness Project.
Yes.
And I know you don't call it the Happiness Project, but
No.
You call it the Happiness Map, right?
The map to happiness, yeah.
Okay, so let's tell us a little bit about that, because I have been dying to know what that is.
Okay, so the thing with the My Map to Happiness, like the title in itself, I'll first talk a little bit about the title and I'll go more into about the method. But the title actually came to me in 2011, and it's actually, the full title is My Body is My Map to Happiness. And so what I noticed in my personal journey and experiences is that our bodies are always talking to us. And if we start to really pay attention to the different sensations and the emotions, our body's going to guide us in the right direction. So earlier you were saying that, you know, people already know what they want to do, but you have to pull it out of them. And that's what I believe too. I believe everybody knows exactly what it is they want to do, how they want to show up in this world. But one thing that we're missing in our societies, like both Canadian and American societies, is like that connection to self. So the connection to our bodies, being able to listen to ourselves, so that can actually guide us in the decisions that we make in our lives. Rarely take a step back to stop to ask ourselves, is this really who I want to be in this world? Is this really how I want to show up in this world? Is this decision that society is telling me that I'm supposed to do at this age really a decision that I want to make? So in the My Map to Happiness method, really what I'm passionate about is helping creative professional women get really clear about the dream career and make it a reality. And in my journey, I identified these 5 steps that allowed me to really embrace my purpose and to embrace like who I am and how I want to show up in the world. So the first step I say is to get clarity. So often when we think about the dream career, or when we think about our lives, like I said, we go through the motions, we never stop to think about what we want. So it's to like stop and to get really clear about what is it you really want to do? Like, what is it that's super important to you? Most of the time people are able to answer that question very quickly, but then they shut down very quickly too, because often I like to call it the dream or the purpose. I use those interchangeably. It's very scary. Right? The dream often feels very impossible to reach.
And every time we think that we want to do something, we cocoon back into our shells because of fear. What if, right? That it follows you everywhere because of that fear that you have inside of you. Thank you so much. Yes.
And we believe that the comfort zone kind of, I want to say, keeps us safe. So we don't dare like step out of the comfort zone. But the reality is when we step out of the comfort zone, then we're opening doors, we're opening opportunities, we start seeing options and solutions to make the dream actually become very real. So I also, in the steps, working with fear is also part of it, but before we work with fear, we also, so once we have the clarity, the next step is to work on the mindset. So the mindset is about cultivating a positive mindset, because often also when the fear comes in and the what ifs come in, so these are all like negative thoughts and unhelpful ways of thinking that just keep us in our comfort zone. And in order to develop that courage, in order to trust the process, it's really important to work on our mind, work on our beliefs, work on believing that the dream is possible. And what I tend to tell my clients is that, you know, if we decide that this is all we'll allow ourselves to believe in, so this being what we believe in, then we actually have created our own glass ceiling right towards the dream. So the only opportunities or solutions we'll ever see will remain here. But if we allow ourselves to dream big and to have a very big vision, then we're opening up a bunch of possibilities. And then people will tell me, okay, but what if I have like this huge vision and this big dream and then it doesn't happen, right? And I'm like, yeah, but what if it does? So if you stay in that mindset of what if it does, you start seeing options and possibilities and solutions. Every time you let fear creep in, every time you let negative thoughts creep in, it brings you back to like a limited possibility when there's limitless possibilities. And the vision is just really a way to motivate yourself to keep moving forward. And I always tell my clients, like, your vision is most probably not going to be the way you envision it, but it's definitely going to keep you moving forward.
Our mind generates so many ideas and we always want to capitalize on those, but we never take action.
Right.
So taking action comes next, but you have to clear that mind, you know. It's like spring cleaning.
As you're talking about action, another thing that often happens that keeps us stuck is that when we think about action, then, okay, so I've asked you now to think about the vision. And now you're thinking, yes, but the vision is so huge. Like, how do I ever get there? And then we get stuck because we're stuck on how do I get to the vision? And I always going to have to say, okay, well, this is now when you scale down and you ask yourself, well, what's the smallest step you need to take right now to eventually get to that vision? So first step might, for some people, the first step might be like a phone call they need to make, or it might be like research they need to do online. Like, it might just be first getting facts and information. So you're taking action, you're taking informed action, right? And I would encourage you not to take actions based on myths or what you've heard, not based on hearsay, but actually based on information that you've researched and that you know, this is what I need to do next. Next step. So step 3 is self-care and self-love. And that's like that ability to, so I'm going to keep it simple for today. So in a simple way is being able to say yes to you. And I'm really speaking to women here because we've often been raised or socialized to say yes to everybody else except ourselves. And when we start saying yes to what we want to do and our desires, there's a lot of guilt that comes into place. And so the idea is that it's so important to be able to say yes to you if you want to be able to say yes to your dream. And where the yoga comes in is also like the yoga has a lot to do with that piece of self-care, of listening to the self, of listening to the body, of honoring exactly where you are, who you are, and of letting go of all these other expectations or external expectations. I almost want to say like yoga brings you back to your source. So I feel like somewhere my work will start focusing more on bringing people back to their source. Yeah.
So what What's your fourth step?
What's my fourth step? The fourth step is overcoming fear. So fear will always be there. So usually like step 1, 2, and 3 are the foundation. So once I've completed that foundation with my clients, they're really, really clear about their dream. They're really clear about, okay, this is what I want to do. But then it's like, it's normal to have fears show up. So the next step is like, okay, so breaking down those fears. So what are they? And how do we work with them? How do we overcome them so you can go and make the dream a reality? Because if we let fear get in the way, then we're always going to stay in the comfort zone. We're never going to allow ourselves to really do what needs to be done to make it become real. So step 4 is all about fear. And finally, step 5 is about trust and surrender. So that's the piece where we bring with the client, I bring in spirituality. So I don't teach spirituality, but I encourage my client to decide for them, is it in a God or the universe or a divine source or a spirit that they believe in? And if they do, then cultivating a relationship with the divine, so the divine can support them in the process. And if they don't, like if then they're an atheist, then it's developing the belief in self and supporting self in the process. In either case, there needs to be some kind of, I like to call it the sidekick. So the sidekick that's going to support you in the process, because I can hold your hand and teach you all these tools and teach the strategies that are specific to you and your journey. But you also need to feel empowered to know that regardless of if I'm there or not, once you have the foundation, like you can continue this journey on your own. Because the way I also see this method is that it's like, I like to compare it to a diet. So when a real diet that works isn't just a short diet, it's a lifestyle change. And so the My Map to Happiness method is a lifestyle change. You're learning all of these tools that are going to help you as your purpose evolves, as you evolve, as you grow, as you expand your comfort zone. Like these tools are continuously going to help you like move forward and grow into who you're meant to become. I guess in this lifetime, in a way of seeing it. Yeah.
That's perfect. I like that 5-step process. Everybody thinks they can do it themselves. Sometimes you get a good deal and you can do it yourself, but most times you do need help. People who need help recognize that they need help and then they can come to us. Mm-hmm. So how do people find you, Priscilla?
They can find me. So a lot of people tend to connect with me on LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn, very active there. Or they can also email me at info@mymaptohappiness.com. So I also like to speak to people first, kind of get a sense of where they are, where they want to be, make sure it's the right fit, make sure that what they want is actually what I can offer. Also, in the process of helping people, it's that you don't always realize that you have blind spots, right? So those people who want to do it alone, they don't realize that you have blind spots. And the only way to overcome those blind spots is when someone's helping you.
Yeah, and I call it awareness. We as coaches can help clients and friends and family members, whoever needs help, to pull out of that self-doubt. So much for sharing that 5-step process. Do you have last-minute tips for those people who are still on the fence and don't want to jump?
It might just not be the right timing for you, right? It might just be that you still need to stay in the discomfort a little bit longer. But when you're ready to jump, then the first tip I would say is like, just get really clear. Like take the time to set that time aside to reflect and to really take the time to identify like really what's important to you and sit with that question. So there's some like drastic questions that I like to ask sometimes my clients. And it's like, if you knew you were dying tomorrow, what is it that you would regret not having done? Right. And that usually wakes people up, and they usually have the answer. They might again shut down, but the answer usually easily pops up. And then I would invite you to explore that whatever came up and to see, well, is there a way to, make it a reality? So recently I I was sharing on Facebook how I started taking violin lessons. And this is something I've been wanting to do like my whole life. And I finally did it. And it's so exciting. And I am loving every moment, even though I'm still very, like, quite the beginner. But it's even starting like that. Like, maybe I was supposed to be a violinist and maybe I'll never be, but at least I'm giving myself the space and the permission to play that instrument that some people even have told me, well, it's really hard instrument to play. And I'm like, it's hard, it's challenging, but it's not impossible. Right? So even having that mindset of when you get clear about what you want to do, then what is the most simplest thing you could do to embrace what your heart desires? The second one is around the mindset. So a really, really simple way to start cultivating positive thinking is to practice the gratitude list. So I don't know if you've heard of it, Munira, but the gratitude list is very simple. It's like at the end of the day, you can even have a specific journal for your gratitude list. And at the end of the day, you just take a moment to think about what are you grateful for today. And so you can start with one item if you're just starting. And then slowly work towards at least 10 items. So 10 things that you're grateful for. And what it helps you do is start really focusing on all the good and all the positive in your life. And my third tip is basically to cultivate self-care and self-love. And it's really asking yourself when you're making decisions in your day-to-day, if I were to really love myself, and maybe would I be doing this? So if I think about the career that I'm in and what I help people in their careers, when you're waking up in the morning on Monday morning and you're waking up to go to that job that makes you feel like ill inside, yeah. If you really loved yourself, would you continue doing that on a day-to-day basis? Thank you also for having me on your show.
Grateful that you're on my show so for those of you watching, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the channel because we have a lot of good tips on this show. We have great speakers, great guests that, will share their expertise on the show. The thing is, we as coaches, we want you to be successful. And we do that by nudging you. We don't throw you overboard. We just nudge you a little bit. I know how to contact Priscilla. Go ahead and contact her. It's amazing that what she's doing out there and changing other people's lives with her 5-step process. You can watch this video again and learn some of the steps or contact her and work with her. Thank you so much, Priscilla.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group